My confession is that we've crossed a line.
You should be ashamed. Calling yourself a community that cares.
Public treatment of law enforcement is at an all-time low.
Not because people are demanding more accountability,
but because basic respect has become a political statement.
How can this be for the greater good?
The greater good.
When hating cops becomes social currency on the internet, when mocking those who serve becomes performative activism,
that's not progress. That's a drift towards dehumanization.
The greater good.
Welcome back to Confessions of a Liberal. I'm Erin Durham, historian, filmmaker, and recovering idealist. I owe a large part of my worldview to the men and women in uniform. My dad was an MP in the Air Force. My grandfather was stationed in post-World War II Paris.
And now into the square comes an American unit.
Our closest family friend growing up was a police officer. A large portion of my high school graduating class joined the 82nd Airborne after 9/11. My confession is this. It breaks my heart to see people who have never served call the National Guard the enemy, or worse, scream at or throw things at police officers just doing their jobs. I don't buy into the blanket villain narrative. It's simplistic, it's unfair, and it's dangerous. And yet they are so often underpaid, over-criticized, and even vilified. Calling a local officer a traitor or throwing a sandwich at a federal agent. These officers aren't there to absorb your anger for the administration. They're not policymakers. And they're certainly not your punching bag. You may not like why they're there or who sent them, but screaming in their faces, that doesn't fix policy. That corrodes our shared humanity.
Some of those protesters threw water bottles, which resulted in the officers then using flashbangs.
This 2017 study, it's called the Ferguson effect.
Well, the Ferguson effect is the phenomenon of officers backing off of proactive policing under the onslaught of vitriol that they've received over the last year and a half with the Black Lives Matter movement and with President Obama, unfortunately. And when officers back off of policing, crime goes up.
Ultimately, discouraging proactive policing and harming the community.
It's quite extraordinary. We've had the FBI director confirming the seriousness of the violent crime increase, and yet these progressives who purport to care about Black lives are brushing off.
The post-George Floyd riots resulted in an excess of over 15,000 black male deaths in this country. How?
Yeah.
The surge of violent crime, it was like Ferguson. After the Ferguson riot and after the Floyd riot, policemen, in fear of their jobs many times, and political coverage, pulled back from their jobs, resulting in an increase. It's a real thing. Look up the Ferguson effect. Look up the Floyd effect. It is a real term.
You cannot
it's a real term. I didn't make this up.
Invent.
In other words, you spitting in their face today could lead them to be less proactive tomorrow. Here's a few history facts. Modern American policing began in the 1830s in cities like Boston and New York. It emerged to professionalize public safety in rapidly growing urban areas, not as a military occupation, but as a civil necessity. Policing evolved dramatically over the next 200 years. In the 1900s, policing professionalized with civil service rules and oversight. In the 1960s, the civil rights movement exposed police brutality and rightly forced the first wide-scale national reform.
President Lyndon Johnson formed a national commission to study why the uprisings happened and how they might be prevented in the future.
In the 1990s, community policing took root to rebuild relationships between local cops and their communities. So this is when partnerships with schools, foot patrols, public forums started, all the things we know today. Post-2000, police forces adapted again to terrorism, mass shootings, natural disasters.
Be advised, the dam on Bee Tree Road is about to bust and the area will need to be evacuated.
This is a profession shaped by pressure and trauma, and yet we treat officers like disposable targets for our outrage. The stats show it too. Trust in police in the 1960s, over 70%. After 2020, it dropped below 45%. Trust in the military post 9/11, 80% plus, now hovering around 60%. And that trust, it breaks not because people ask for accountability, but because we've made safety itself political. Freedom doesn't require worship of authority, but it does require respect for the people showing up when you call 911.
Men laden with gear who ran up the stairs of 2 burning buildings when everyone else was trying to escape.
If we're too busy posting hot takes and virtue signaling to acknowledge their sacrifices, then maybe we don't deserve the comfort they help preserve.
So that's my confession. I am calling loudly, Darcy agrees, for more respect. Not because I ignore injustice, but because I know justice can only thrive with shared humanity.
And that starts by acknowledging the people who carry that weight. Let's make it personal again. Bake some muffins, drop them at your local precinct, shake the hand of a veteran, ask a cop how their day is going. To our armed forces and police, if you hear this, I pledge to help tell your stories. Tell me what would make your day.
Until next time, stay curious, ask more questions, and thank your local hero. Bye. Oh, Darcy wants to come in.